Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Australia certainly needs top-class effective training. However, it won't just be the number of enrolments and commencements that are the measure of whether the Labor government spending $1.5 billion of taxpayers' funds on this policy is actually being spent wisely. The true test will be whether each one of the students who completes these courses, so the completion and the qualification rates will be the measure of this policy, as will whether the students are genuinely skilled, job-ready and able to do the jobs that employers actually require. As equally in regional areas, whether the students being in regional areas are training in the areas of particular workforce shortages. There's already concerns given that the estimates of TAFE completions are showing the failure or non-completion rate could be as high as 55 to 60%. For example, in Victoria, just 1% of those registered for a free Certificate 4 in plumbing successfully completed their training. So Labor speakers talking today need to confirm just how many of Labor's 500,000 fee-free TAFE courses have resulted in a real qualified worker and real qualification being completed. Taxpayers have a right to know how many cancellations or non-completions there have been across those enrolments. Equally, how many of these enrolments were not genuinely new places as opposed to those that were going to be there anyway without that additional $1.5 billion cost to taxpayers. The reason these details are so important is that under Labor, skills are going backwards, so completion and qualification rates are critical. The latest data released by the National Centre for Vocational Education and Research shows that Australia has lost over 85,300 apprentices and trainees from the national training pipeline since the Labor government took office, a loss of 1 in 5. This means Labor has squandered almost all the gains made by the coalition government in building up Australia's skills pipeline. It also comes at a time when Labor is bringing in over 1.15 million migrants, which is putting extraordinary pressure on housing, infrastructure, hospitals, schools and health services. And of course, we're only building 265,000 new homes. At the same time, we're seeing worsening skills shortages, unaffordable and soaring energy costs, stalling housing constructions and record insolvencies in the building sector itself. So no wonder there are 5,300 fewer construction trades worker apprentices in training since Labor took office. Added to this, new start apprentices and trainees have dropped by 23%, and the number of female apprentices and trainees in training has fallen by 25%, and the number of female commencements has fallen by 40%. The harsh reality facing the Australian people with Australia's shocking economic failure, the additional $315 billion of new spending driving homegrown inflation, is that Australia is building fewer homes and the skills shortage have become far worse. We've lost 1 in 5 apprentices and trainees across the country, and Australians cannot find accommodation, housing or rental properties. Now, Australia needs more apprentices and trainees, not less. Businesses of all sizes, from small and medium family businesses through to major businesses and industries. And Labor promised it would solve the skills shortages. Well, it hasn't done so. Unfortunately, it's just another broken promise made to the Australian people, along with the broken promise to lower power prices, to fix the cost of living issues and lower mortgage costs, amongst so many other broken promises. According to Jobs and Skills Australia, 36% of occupations were assessed as being in shortage in 2023, up from 31% in 2022, and 66 occupations were added to this list in 2023. Effectively, this means over 330 occupations are in shortage in Australia. And clearly, the 1.15 migrants Labor has opened Australia's doors to have not and are not filling these shortages, because Labor has failed to target skilled migrants in its open-door migration policy and has failed to support and train Australian apprentices and trainees in the numbers that are needed. To add insult to injury, the new Minister for Skills and Training role has not only been taken out of Cabinet, clearly it's not a priority for the Labor government.